For our presentation, we are looking at Glenn Sullivan and making a fitness plan for him. I'm Elliot, and I'm doing the introduction. Holly Self is going to talk about the trans theoretical model. Holly Chase will go over the self-efficacy theory, and John will look at the obstacles and how they will be overcome. Glenn Sullivan is a 43-year-old man who is 5'9" and weighs 212 pounds. He wants to be more active so he can play with his kids more and help his family become physically active as well. Two of his three kids often want to play sports in the backyard. However, he is currently able to do it with them as he had a hip surgery 2 years ago and is worried about injuring his hip. His goal for physical activity is to lose a couple of pounds, strengthen his hip, and see long-term change. When talking to him about his lifestyle, he said he's a sales manager and his wife is a data analyst. He has three children ages 8, 11, and 13. The 8 and 11-year-old have no problem being physically active. However, the 13-year-old says he doesn't have anyone he wants to play with and he finds it boring. Glenn thinks he might be able to help his 13-year-old work out by doing it with him and also be there for the younger kids, which is a strong motivator for him as he's worried about his family being out of shape. He said the easiest thing about starting physical activity will be the fact his family lives in a neighborhood that's safe for biking and there's a field nearby that he can play with his kids in.
The trans theoretical model has 6 different stages we look at. First is pre-contemplation. This individual is not yet considering change or is completely unaware that their behavior is problematic. Second is contemplation. The person is thinking about change but is not yet totally committed to it yet. This is where they can recognize the pros and cons as well. Third is preparation. The person is ready to take action soon and may start taking those small steps to success. Fourth is action. This individual is actively changing their behavior and their environment to support this new change. Fifth, which we will not be looking at in Glenn's case, but is common and expected in the process, but is relapse. The person returns to their old behavior after attempting to change. And final stage is maintenance. The person has sustained this new behavior for an extended period of time, typically at least for a few months, and is now working on preventing that relapse from happening again. They see it as now a part of their lifestyle. For pre-contemplation, Glenn may not see that physical activity possible due to his pre-existing factors or since his surgery, so we can educate him about safe and physical activities after his hip surgery and share success stories of others who have similar situations than him. Second is contemplation. Glenn is thinking about it but is unsure on how to get started, so we can help him by weighing his pros and cons of becoming active and providing low-impact activities tailored to his physical limitations. Examples of this could be swimming, biking with kids, or family walks. In the preparation stage, Glenn is starting to plan his way to making this positive change a reality. We can start encouraging him by scheduling activities with his children that involve movement, as said previously, and we can also identify his barriers and create strategies to help avoid those happening again. For action, Glenn is starting active changes and is working on his behavior change. This could mean providing positive reinforcement or tracking his progress through a journal or app of his choice. And in the maintenance stage, we can celebrate his consistency and help plan setbacks by adjusting routines when needed for him.
Self-efficacy incorporates 4 concepts to help initiate change. Past performance is the first and highlights how Glenn was fit and active back in his younger days. This can help him remember his potential and how much he enjoyed being fit and active. The second one is vicarious experiences. This ties into how he has family and friends who have undergone surgery and such and bounced back. This helps him have an idea that he also can achieve those same fitness goals and help him better pursue his own active journey. Third is social or verbal persuasion, like how he has kids he wants to become more active for, and the push from his wife to start being more active with her. He can utilize his family as motivation. Finally, emotional arousal. are things that are encouraging him on an emotional level, like valuing his time with his kids that make him want to live longer and be healthier, finding ways to keep a positive attitude towards physical fitness. Some intervention techniques that tie into the self-efficacy theory are coping efficacy, where Glenn needs to outline the barriers he's having and come up with a plan on ways he's able to overcome them. For example, one barrier he may have is finding the time to exercise, so if he incorporates family fitness activities into his weekly schedule, he would be able to spend time with his family while still getting the physical activity he needs. Another one is scheduling efficacy. This is a way for him to schedule time to incorporate physical activity into his daily schedule. This may look like setting an alarm and time on his phone for fitness intervals that may consist of push-ups, jumping jacks, or simply a specific time of the day he may walk the dog. Coaching is a third option. This is a way for him to find a coaching resource such as his wife who can empower him to become more active, or possibly a personal trainer to help him build a better physiological state of mind while incorporating social persuasion and reminding him of his capabilities from past performances. Proxy is the last technique where he can find friends that are on the same journey, maybe people who go to the gym regularly or take daily runs, people within his circle that have fitness goals similar to what he's seeking.
Glenn will likely experience many barriers and obstacles during his intervention. An important part of this intervention is providing him with strategies to overcome such obstacles so that he can make long-term changes and be less prone to relapsing. One obstacle that Glenn will likely run into is time constraints due to both working a full-time job and having 3 children with whom he tries to spend as much time as he can. In order to help him overcome this barrier, we will help him identify ways in which he could incorporate exercises into these responsibilities. As far as work goes, he could try biking to work if that's an option for his location, or while he's at work, we could ensure that he's taking the stairs whenever possible, and that he's going on walks whenever he has a break. For his family responsibilities, we might suggest that he try to be more active with his children, whether it's playing sports with them, going on family bike rides, or taking them on outings that require large amounts of walking, such as going to the zoo. Another barrier that Glenn is likely to run into is a lack of confidence, both in his self-image and in his body's stability after his hip surgery, especially with a strong fear of re-injury. While the difficulty of overcoming these barriers will vary greatly from person to person, there are things that we can do to help Glenn build his confidence. First, we can provide him with an exercise program that he can perform at home, away from any potential judgment, and include exercises that are simple and have a low risk of re-injury, especially those performed with resistance bands. As his confidence continues with these at-home exercises, we might introduce him to an exercise group designed for his demographic, allowing him to build confidence and exercise in an environment where he feels comfortable and accepted while he is surrounded by his peers. And by overcoming these barriers, Glenn's confidence in his ability not only to exercise but to overcome obstacles as they show up will increase, ideally leading him to being more generally comfortable exercising and finding some kind of physical activity that he loves and will continue to do on a regular basis.